In the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, there are so many ridiculous effects that can do anything from win you the game on the spot to making the game such a slog for your opponent that they have no choice but to concede or waste an hour of their life. Well, ramp that up to 11 because we're talking about anime cards, baby. Cards that should never be printed due to making power creep more of a power leap and a skip and a jump. Before we get this started, just know there will be no cards that were adapted into real life like Golden Castle or Gumblar, as these would be more suited to a different list. Let's get started. At number 10, we have one of the silliest cards ever screened through our televisions, Quiz Panel Slifer 10. An entire deck of quiz panels was used by Bob Banter in GX, all based around trivia.
To activate the trap card known as Huge Revolution, name the 3 cards that need to be present on the playing field.
Crazy ideas.
Challenge! Drink a bowl of water in 1 minute.
Or just plain luck.
Your challenge? I pick 1 random card from my deck, and you have to guess how many monsters are pictured on it.
What sets Quiz Panel Slifer 10 apart from even these wacky cards is the fact that it makes you do the incredible physical labor of 20 push-ups in 10 seconds. If that sounds like a lot, it is. From researching online, the only people who can do 2 push-ups every second do push-ups which are not fully realized. Doing a full follow-through on every single push-up while doing 2 every second is physically impossible.
This is quite simple. Just don't cheat. Go all the way up and all the way down and let your body straight. Don't decrease the range of motion by bringing your head forward or your hips down.
If anyone says they can do it, they're either lying or they aren't doing full push-ups, which may need a separate ruling just to make certain and avoid ruling disputes. Sure, it may only do 500 damage, but it's a card that attacks your opponent's real-life body directly. It's abusable with prediction princesses and crawlers, and it's the closest any of us will ever get to being a part of a shadow game. Coming in at number 9 is the kind of card we expected. Way too many effects and a board wipe. Prominence is an equipped spell that allows you to destroy the equipped monster, wipe your opponent's entire field, and then burns the opponent for each monster destroyed. Imagine CED, but you don't have to have the graveyard set up for him. The effect is one-sided, and you can still do everything else you wanted on that turn. Combine that with the fact that this card is directly searchable with Hidden Armory, or Power Tool Dragon, and you have yourself a card that would require an emergency ban list upon release. Over here at number 8, we have Card of Desperation, and it really does live up to its name. Just like Prominence, it was used in the manga where effects don't need to make sense. Draw 3 to mill your deck may sound bad to new players, but also keep in mind the graveyard effects are such a big deal in Yu-Gi-Oh! That this may come as a significant benefit. Infernoids, Lightsworn, any deck that played that grass, they would play this card in a heartbeat, especially with cards that can recur themselves to the deck like Cockroach Knight, or cards like Transmigration Prophecy, in case you might be worried about decking out. The problem more than likely will not exist with how many beatsticks you can special summon to the board, but hey, it's an option. At number 7, we have a card that may look familiar to many viewers. See, you may see a card that Noah Kaiba used in the filler arc of the original series, which is obviously inspired by Noah's very subtle biblical references. For those of you who weren't actually aware of all of the biblical connotations that Noah Kaiba has, well, we can just switch to thefullwiki.org/Noah Kaiba, and it talks about his decks. Noah uses 2 decks during the series. The first one can be seen as an allegory for the history of Earth. The first monsters he plays are seemingly human, possibly a reference to the antediluvian members of humanity present before God sent a flood to destroy them all with the exception of Noah and his family. These monsters include Chiron the Mage and Eris, whose powerful attacking abilities enable Noah to briefly gain the upper hand. He also utilizes Fissure and Earthshaker, referencing, among other things, the earthquakes that frequented Earth when it was cooling. He then uses the Giant Flood magic card to destroy every monster on the field and in one's hand, and send them to the graveyard. Noah's deckmaster is Shinato's Ark, an obvious reference to Noah's Ark. All his monsters go inside the Ark, rather than to the graveyard. He switches to dinosaur monsters such as Giant Rex, and their large attacking capabilities allow Noah to gain another advantage on Kaiba. He then uses Deepest Impact magic card, symbolic of an asteroid coming down to destroy the dinosaurs, to destroy all monsters in play and deplete both players' life points by half. The field then switches to the Ice Age, and Noah uses Ice Age Panic to call forth his last tusked mammoth. After Kaiba destroys it, Noah switches the field to modern times, plays the spell Dark Hole, and summons Gradius and eventually Gradius' option to the field, equipped with several magic cards that reflect futuristic weaponry and space exploration. After Kaiba forces the duel into a final showdown with Last Turn, Noah calls forth his Deckmaster, which is initially crushed by the blast from Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon. It then reveals Shinato, King of a Higher Plane, symbolic possibly of end times. In the Japanese versions of the episodes, Noah actually refers to his duel with Kaiba as, quote, the 7 turns of creation duel, and makes references to the creation of Earth during the duel. Because of its biblical connotations, Noah's mention of the Earth's creation is omitted in the English version. But other people may see this card with no stipulation. Yes, it's a better royal tribute for every deck, and doesn't need to be in a deck known for also having monsters. Shut down your opponent turn 1 with Paleozoics, and you may just win the entire game. Hand traps can't do hand trap things when they're dead, so go off as hard as you can. This can also be kept for later when it's a dark hole that also takes away monsters in the hand, so it's already better than 2 cards that players find annoying and incredibly powerful. Number 6 seems pretty innocuous, as some newer players may not see a problem. Abyss Invitation deals 300 burn when your opponent takes effect damage, which is an awful lot like Dark Room of Nightmare. Oh wait, they can trigger infinitely for 3-card infinite damage loop. You can game your opponent with Sparks on your first turn, making an incredibly strong FTK when we consider that the Danger Draw engine is alive and kicking, and any FTK is possible, especially one like this. Play Trickstars, and you now have multiple ways of searching your deck for the initial burn card to destroy your opponent before they even have a chance to respond. Number 5 is another weird manga card that needs problem-solving card text. Prediction is a card that negates literally anything. It is the only card that I'm aware of that can negate a card being set onto the field, so there's that. Solemn Judgment has a steep cost to play and only happens once, so absolute degeneracy can happen if you make that a free once per turn. You can negate your opponent doing anything, including things considered as actions, so there are way too many ways to abuse this. Number 4 may bring back memories of a simpler time, when you played one of 2 decks to stay relevant. Namely Dragon Rulers, but most other decks played a card called Sixth Sense, which either allowed you to draw a bunch of cards or mill a similar amount. Now imagine if you could do both simultaneously. Roll of Fate is a better upstart goblin at worst, and a game ender at best, and was played by the luckiest man on the face of the earth, Joey Wheeler. Imagine drawing 6 cards and then summoning 3 wolf, and then tell me how fast our meta is today. I mean, it's still fast, but this puts it into a gear that doesn't, and should never exist. Number 3 follows in the footsteps of Crazy Draw Power, this time making Card of Demise even better. Card of Sanctity makes both players draw until they have 6 cards in their hand, basically saying that you draw 5 cards, and the opponent gets the kitchen scraps of a single draw. I know I said I wouldn't put cards that were adapted to real life on the list, but can you honestly tell me this card even exists? Exactly. And the anime version simply allows you to have a second hand and continue extending your board or even FTKing your opponent simply through your vast amounts of resources. With this card taking the bronze medal, some of you may be asking what could top it. Well, number 2 is a card that simply negates your opponent's deck and their ability to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Underworld Circle is a dark hole that then banishes all monsters from both players' decks. Yep. Deck destruction is so strong the Crush card had to be nerfed into oblivion, and Inferno Tempest needs you to jump through 30 hoops to even make it work, but this card has no cost and does it for the entire deck. Kaijus, engines, an entire win condition, all gone. Your extra deck isn't even usable at that point. You just have to play decks with no monsters, and those are few and far between. The card might as well banish the entire deck. At least that way your opponent doesn't have a sliver of hope they can get out of this alive. Granted, it already does that if you run Necroface, so keep that in mind. Number 1 will be no surprise to the few people who have read the manga, but Magician's Archive is the best card ever conceived. Not only is it strong on its own to get any spell from your deck, but it can tutor any spell on this list and make it even more consistent. FTKs, OTKs, deckouts, anything you can imagine. It's all more consistent with Magician's Archive. It can even search the best card in the manga. Magician's Archive. I'm sure that library is filled with comments on forum posts calling for this card's ban in an alternate universe where these cards are actually allowed in the game. They may need to expand those shelves in that case. So guys, that was a list of the top 10 most broken cards in the anime, and I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel for more content like this and many anime-induced shenanigans, and comment down below on what you would like to see next. Till next time, JC Yugioh, out.